Okay, so we're gonna get into it because today something had caught my attention in the Bible. So we're gonna turn to Alma 12, verse 20. And this is the chapter we're going to read from. If I can find it, this is 10. What?
IEsha. Madonna.
Boy.
IEsha. Madonna.
Eat what you got first.
No.
Okay, verse 20. But there was one Antonia, who was chief ruler among them, came forth and said unto them, What is this that thou hast said, that man should rise from the dead, and be changed from this mortal state, from this mortal to an immortal state, that the soul can never die? What does this mean to y'all? Like, that speaks volume right there, because a lot of people be like, when you grow up, you just think about immortality, vampires, Twilight, those are, immortality states. They live forever, but it's only a metaphor. It's only a metaphor of how life is, how immortal the state actually is. Just think, they are the state, the mental state, or the spiritual, they're the spiritual state of the mortal. So just think of, what was her name? What's her name from? It was Edward, the girl, but what the heck is her name? Beth, Elizabeth. So Beth was basically the mortal state of the vampire. This is her immortal state. She was a good girl. She was a writer. She wrote, well, she wasn't a writer, but she wrote sometimes. She just did her own thing. She stayed to herself. You can tell that Beth was a good girl. Like, she didn't participate in a lot of stuff. She liked reading. She liked doing stuff on her own. She was a tomboy. She wasn't really a girly girl. What? So then Edward had found her. How Edward found her, he found her because she was one that stood out. She was like, oh, there's something. He was like, oh, there's something different about her. The fact that she's interested in me, there's something different about her. The way that she's minding me when no one else is minding me. The way that, she's not afraid of me when everybody else is afraid of me. This is, I'm interested in her. She fascinates me. And that's how the spiritual side of things, that's her mental state. Her mental state is basically a reflection of Edward, because he was immortal. So this is what I think about when it says, and there, a lot of people be like, what? We ain't gonna live forever. We die at a certain time. If we eat this and this poison, we gonna die. If we get hit by a car, we're gonna die. If we drown in some water, we're going to die. If we stay in a house too long when it's a house fire and there's smoke everywhere, we're going to die. So what are you talking about? We're going to live forever, And then some people don't think about it like that. They throw out movies, vampire movies, werewolf movies, and stuff like that. They throw them out there to mock, but... And some people do this with that intention of mocking the fact that, oh, you think you're going to live forever. This is how you're going to live forever, this and that, But that was basically a reflection. That's why I was so into Twilight, because it's so many different messages and movies that you can get out of, you can learn. you know, your childhood, you're wondering, you know, as a child, we are told that, you know, you're going to live forever. It says right here in the Bible, in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, this, that, and the third. We quote, I mean, they in the church and the pastors, like, you're going to live, like, if you're in the, if you're one of God's children, you're going to live forever. So as little kids, we sitting in church like, hold up, really? You know, we kind of just wonder, and that was me in the crowd, like in the sitting with my family and stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, just thinking about everything he's saying, and it's really getting to me. I'm like, hold on, we gonna live forever. How we gonna achieve this? How is this gonna happen? You know, I'm in, and then the next day we got school on Monday. I'm in there thinking like, hold up, he said we gonna live forever. I gotta think about this, and I'm writing notes in school while we supposed to be paying attention to a certain lesson on a screen or on the chalkboard. I'm sitting there like, he said we're gonna live forever. I gotta research. I gotta look up. I gotta figure this out. What is they talking about? We gonna live forever, you know? And it's a lot of people that think about that. They like, hold on, how we gonna live forever? And that's a lot of reasons why a lot of people don't believe in the Bible and they turn away from the Bible, because they hear all this. But then they go out here and then they think they, you know, invincible, and they get into a wreck or something. They wind up in a hospital and they're like, oh, and the doctor's saying, you know, you might die tomorrow. Hold up. You know, I'm invincible. I'm supposed to be immortal. And you saying I'm about to die tomorrow because I got something that's fractured in my body that already when I got into the accident and I didn't notice, I wasn't aware of this. And you talking about I'm about to die, but I'm prayed up. I've been praying. I've been in the Bible. God been telling me I'm supposed to live forever. And, you know, and then that's how they turn away from their faith. That's when they, you know, they step away from their faith and they start, you know, not believing. And they're just like, wow. They get into that hopeless state like, wow, after everything, you know. It's not even true. I don't even believe it no more. But God ain't talking about the physical body. God is not talking about the physical body. God is talking about your spiritual state, your mental state. You're going to be in a mental state of immortality. So as long as you're doing right, and even if this guy is about to die tomorrow, you're going to be with me in heaven. Immortal. You're going to live with me. Your spirit is going to carry on. You're going to die, but you're not going to die. You're going to be with me tomorrow. I have chosen you to be with me tomorrow because of how faithful you was, because you were so interested, because you were so fascinated, because you were so curious about me. I have to have you now with me. So this man is going to be with God because he was in that accident. He was in that accident, but the accident was just to, you know, quicken the process of being with God. God had to pull him out because he knew that you are my chosen and you are the one that I've been searching for a long time. And now I have you. I have seen you, and I know that you're here. I am pulling you away out of your body, and spiritually you are going to be with me immortally. So yeah. So like I said, that's just one example. The other example is just like Elizabeth. When I talked about Elizabeth, Beth, and Edward, you know, chosen ones, you're in that immortal state. Edward was her example. Edward was her immortal state. You know, she was a wanderer. Her spirit was living forever. She had that childlike mind. She wondered, and she just, you know, she was to herself. She wanted more out of life than life could give her. And that more out of life that life can give her was a figurative example of Edward. That's what it was. That was her Edward. Was what she wanted out of life. Nothing else could satisfy her. You seen how her best friend, one of her friends, kept trying to, you know, what?
Train station.
Huh?
Train station.
What?
Sound.
Train. You know, her friend wanted to her friends kept wanting her to go to the prom and stuff with them. You know, they wanted to include her in stuff that they wanted to do with her. But, oh no, it was Belle. Or was it Beth or Isabel? Isabel, that was her name or something like that. But I can't think of if it was Beth or Belle. I think it was Isabel. But she kept saying no, or she'd go, but she wasn't really there. Like when they was out in the water and stuff, she would participate, but she wasn't actually there. Her mind wasn't there. Her mind wasn't present, you know, because she wanted more out of life than they could give her. And you can see like the void or the emptiness. It was just something about her that wasn't clicking with them. You know, she was always just to herself. Like, what's wrong with you? You know? And there was nothing really wrong with her. She could be cool and she could be feeling like them, but at the same time, it's something else that was just her spirit was craving, and her spirit was craving that immortality. Her spirit was craving God, and God presented himself through Edward, you know, and that was her mind state. Her mind state was immortality, you know, and that's basically, I'm gonna just set them on your orange peels. That's basically what that's basically what it meant. What you eating? Did you just eat one of these? I didn't even see him eat it. So that's basically what had happened. So that's what he's explaining. You know, but there was one Intanah who was a chief relief among them, came forth and said unto them, what is this that thou hast said, that man should rise from the dead and be changed from this mortal to an immortal state, that the soul can never die? Rising from the dead, so that's like a whole different subject. So rising from the dead is like, you know, okay, so just think, okay, so you're not that, like, you haven't been thoughtful in a long time. That inner child inside you has died a long time ago. So you live in life on repeat, you know, just like it's like a cycle, ongoing cycle. You do this, you do that, you do this, you go to bed. You do this, you do that, you do this, you go to bed. Do this, you do that, you do this, you go to bed. You know, it's repetitive, and you're you know, it's this how you're living. So you live in this way, and you have no thoughts about what you're doing. You have no thoughts about what you're, you know, going to work, eating cereal every single day, going to work, taking a shower, coming home, because you can take showers in the bathroom at work if you want to, coming home, and then, you know, probably watching TV. The same show every single day, the same breakfast every single day, the same lunch every single day, same dinner every single day. Go to work, come home, take a shower, the same place every single day, come home. Like, you do this you keep doing this back to back to back, like every single day. You don't have no thoughts about it. You know, it's normal. You just like, it is what it is at this point. You know, and you haven't been thoughtful. You haven't really thought about anything else in life. You just settled for what it was, and this is how you're carrying on in life. And then one day, you have this thought. You have this voice inside your mind that speaks out to you. You're like, hold up. I just thought about that. You know, and that idea changes your path, your plan, you know, that cycle, that ongoing cycle of this, that, and the third. And instead of cereal, one day, you know, the same cereal, but instead of the same Cheerios, you go ahead and throw in some sugar. You know, because the idea was sweet to you. And you never had an idea like that before. You never even thought before. And then all of a sudden you have this idea. You know, so that's what it means to rise from the dead. You rose from the dead. right then and there. And now you have been saved. You're in the process. You know, God is pulling you to him because you will not die. You have risen. God has rose you from the death. God has rose you from the dead. And now this is where you walk into immortality. You know, you journey into the immortal state of mind. That was just one little spark. You know, that was just one little moment. That was just not even a first full step, but a half a step to what God has planned for you. So that is, you know, so yeah, that's what it means to rise from the dead and go from. This is what it means when it says that man should rise from the dead and be changed from this mortal to an immortal state that the soul can never die. So yeah, that was the word of the day. Like, comment, subscribe, be notified, share at your own free will to show you care. And I hope this message, you know, spoke to you today. And I hope you can, you know, you got something from this message. And now you gained some type of understanding. You know, if you was in that dark place always wondering, and, you know, you always had a question that was never answered, maybe from my perspective, you got some type of insight and you got some type of direction to where, oh, now I can think differently about this, you know. Now I see some type of light in the dark, or the lamp in the nighttime, or in a dark place. You know, hopefully I sparked some type of flame in you today, and you can just really think about what I said. With that being said, y'all have a blessed day. It is Saturday. It is Sabbath day for a lot of y'all, including me. And it is Sabbath day for a lot of y'all on the Sunday. But this is Saturday. Happy Sabbath day, and I will talk to y'all next time. Like, comment, subscribe. Again, be notified. Share at your own free will to show you care. And yeah, bye.